Welcome, everybody, to episode 29 of the College Hockey Mouth podcast, a College Hockey South series. Devin Serra joined back with our illustrious producer, Gavin Coker, the ever-personable Danny Bohm, Mr. Electric over here, rocking the orange creamsicle Tampa hat. A little bit fitting based on what we'll talk about in this episode. But, boys, heck of a last few weeks here, last few days. Last week, we recapped the College Hockey South playoffs, and now it's time for nationals, women's, men's, everything. But how are you guys doing?
I'm fantastic. I'm personable all of a sudden. I didn't know I was personable until you said it.
Everybody knows who you are. Everybody has come across your face now, and you're our local celebrity.
Yeah, you're laying it on thick now. All right. Thanks. I had a great weekend, Devin. Thank you so much. Yeah, we got some fun times coming up. A little sad that our regular season is over and playoffs too, because that was I don't know, that was a fun time, but nationals is very exciting too. So let's get to it.
Sir Gav, what's new in your world, man? Long time no see.
Yeah, long time no see. Yesterday, obviously in Orlando with you, Colin, doing a practice call for the Solar Bears, so that was pretty cool. And then, yeah, just been kind of honestly going through the motions. After playoffs, it feels like I was like, oh, things are going to stop, and it's just one thing after another. People will see on Friday what some of those things are. And, well, I guess later today when you're listening to this, what we got coming up. But no spoilers, just watch the YouTube. That's all I can say. But a lot of exciting stuff and just been a busy week.
Yeah, no doubt. That was a good time. We were out in Orlando getting to watch an ECHL game and call it together. And I know it's a good way to keep things rolling into our biggest week of the year. And collectively, we're going to bring in one of the members of the biggest weekend in club hockey. He is a member of the USF Men's Division III hockey team, and he is the leading scorer. In fact, he is the back-to-back conference MVP for that division. Please welcome to College Hockey Mouth, Grant Dietz.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. This has been, I think I say it too often, in the works for weeks, but like this has been, for you, the guy we wanted since day one. We talked about you pretty much every single week because you can't stop scoring. You know, you are a product of guys that came from really high level of hockey, but, talk to us about some of your roots growing up and how you ultimately got to the level you're at.
Yeah, so I grew up in Chicago, started playing hockey at a young age, played for some different AAA teams across the country. Ended up playing in the North American League. I really enjoyed my time finishing out in Danbury. But yeah, I made my way down to Tampa for USF.
No, I hate to start off on the wrong foot immediately, but you mentioned this the other day when we were recording the All-Star draft that you were a Red Wings fan, but you grew up in Chicago. Are you kidding me right now, Grant?
Yeah, I guess my mom raised me that way, being from Michigan.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's understandable, but still incredibly disappointed. All right, Devin. Again, landed on thick. I got my Bears cup right here. And I'm wearing a Cubs shirt too.
Boy, yeah, not a Bears, not a Blackhawks fan.
You're Michigan all the way through, huh?
I'm not a Lions, but I like the Tigers and the Wings. I'll root for the Cubs too. So a little Chicago.
All right. Well, we have to work on that. But anyways, Devin, go ahead, keep it rolling because I could go right now, brother.
Unlike you guys, I'm not going to go into the specifics of being a Red Wings fan and what it means because we all know we're the greatest franchise in sports. We have the best logo. We've hit kind of a curve, and I know Gavin has given me a lot of flack for the way our team performs in March. But, Grant, you talked about some of your time in the Null. I mean, you split it in Maine, a little bit of time there. Really notable player for Danbury, the junior hat trick. Just talk to us about how that prepared you for playing at the collegiate level and, what were some of the things you remember most and loved about your junior experience?
Yeah, I loved it out in Maine too. I mean, playing for the 18s team for a few years out there, preparing me for the Null. And then playing, that portion of the season out there, that was awesome. And then, getting the ice time that I got in Danbury, it was an awesome team, great group of guys. Yeah, I mean, it was just, it was really next level, very competitive. But yeah, and then it's been awesome to translate that to playing down here using what I learned up north.
Did you ever get to play in front of like capacity crowds? I know in Danbury, like they've got a pretty decent hockey community. Did you ever get that kind of experience?
Yeah, in the East Division, Johnstown definitely pulls in the most fans. I played out in Johnstown for a few months, and against Johnstown as well, playing for Maine and Danbury. So Johnstown pulls in some decent fans. Maine was always good. So just here and there, some of those teams.
And you've been the MVP the past 2 seasons. Part of that is putting up a lot of points, but you put up a lot of points. You also draw a lot of penalty minutes. How are you able to put up a lot of points and also stay physical, get into it, and bring the team into it as well?
Yeah, I guess it's just a little bit part of my game. It's the way I get into the game sometimes. Get my body into it, and then yeah, I guess the points come.
Has that always been a part of your MO hockey wise, or did it develop like late in your career?
Maybe a little. I mean, always. Yeah, I've always been a bit more physical. Like to grind a little, but maybe when I got to 18s playing out in Maine, probably developed it quite a bit out there. Got the green light from the coach. So
I was just going to say, I mean, the past 3 seasons, even in Danbury, almost 200 penalty minutes there, 91 if Elite Prospects is correct. And then I was looking last season, you had more penalty minutes combined than the two guys that were right under you, Michael Wool and Will Marshall. Those guys were at 50 and 60, and you just combined that and added in the scoring effects.
yeah. I mean, probably here and there could take a couple less, but I don't know if it'll ever fully stop.
Well, just go for the jugular. Why don't you, Gav? I mean, we don't want to put this guy on the map here. I mean, it is the elephant in the room per se, which, is no pun intended. Like, you are such a dynamic forward for that team. What went into your decision to attend Tampa? Why Southwest
South Florida.
Well, yes, because if I say South Florida, we talk about Fort Lauderdale, that area. USF. Why USF and why now?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great school. Wanted to come down to school in Florida. Thought it was the best option. I hopped on a phone call with our coach, Joe Rhodes, and then the previous president, Owen Welch. And yeah, they had great things to say about it. We have an awesome run, like amazingly run club. An awesome rink close to the campus. Great fans. So I mean, there's plenty of reasons to want to come to USF.
Yeah, and that renaissance happened pretty, immediately as soon as you got there. Take us back to how last season finished up for you guys, and you fell short in the conference championship game, and if that gave you a little bit extra motivation to take the next step in the postseason this year.
Yeah, I mean, last year, I guess the biggest thing was knowing that we had been undefeated against FAU, the team that won the national championship, and then watching them win it, understanding that could have been us, knowing that we had a really young team. So everybody getting another year, returning a lot of players, bringing some new guys in. We kind of knew that we could do even better.
You and Duhaime are like, and we hate to put you on the spot with the NHL comparison, but like Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. What is your favorite part about playing with a guy like Jacob? And how do you guys have so much success together?
Yeah, he's awesome to play with. I mean, he knows the right spots on the ice. We always find each other. We play PK together. We're on the power play together. Yeah, I mean, he's an awesome guy. Even better guy off the ice. Definitely an awesome guy to play with. And then my other line mate started up second semester, Jace Konigsmark. I had played out with in Maine previously, and we got him in for playoffs and everything, and now he'll be with us for nationals in the next couple of years. So yeah, we got a really great line.
Yeah, and you mentioned it. Nationals is approaching. Has there been a different focus in practice or a shift in the philosophy of the team as you guys prepare to get into pool play against some of the top teams in M3?
I'd say it's the same as going into conference playoffs, knowing, we're there to win. I guess the only difference is now we have the confidence, knowing that we just won the conference. We can really do some damage at nationals.
And speaking on that, I mean, Danny, I know you have a little bit about that conference and kind of their story as a team, but it seemed like this conference tournament, you guys had a different edge. It was almost like it was going to be either you or Middle Tennessee State, and Tampa took care of business there. Talk to us about how you guys were able to be so successful in your run, and what were things that you took away from winning that first conference title?
Yeah, and FGCU was a great test too. Going to overtime with them, that was a tight one. But we never quit. Like, we'll find ourselves down in some games. I know our last series with Tampa to end the regular season, both games we found ourselves down, and then both games we won by, I think, at least 5. So, if we dig ourselves a hole, we find a way out of it. So just like that in that FGCU game, I know we were down in the third, dug ourselves out, and then won it in OT.
Yeah, that game was wild, the FGCU one. But you end up playing Tampa in the conference championship game. It was a little bit unexpected, but here you are heading into nationals, and you know who is in your pool again. It's going to be your first game, and you guys played them in pool play last year. Is it getting a little bit annoying seeing these guys over and over again? Like, you're going all the way out to St. Louis. You want to play some national teams from all over the place, but you could just play the guys who are next door.
Yeah, it would have been cool to play a new team, but yeah, we'll play whoever they give us.
The game might get
Well,
a little nasty, Devin.
I was just going to say, I mean, nationals games, the special teams come down to the wire, and there's no exception there that you're going to have to bring what you had against Tampa. You guys have been very successful against them. But, speaking on nationals, I mean, you guys are in a really tough pool here. You're going to have a team like Air Force. We know what they are, older, veteran experience and then Wentworth. Like, what goes into the scouting of that? Do you guys approach it like that, or is it just kind of in your room and what you guys do as a team?
Yeah, we might check out who's on which team and stuff like that, but other than that, we just worry about ourselves. We know that we're the best team in the country, so it's just the confidence in ourselves working together. We know we can beat anybody.
We just wanted to speak to you off the cuff because I think you bring a different feel of this USF program with what they've built with you and Joe and others. So special. Do you kind of have like a favorite memory from your time with the team or, playing club collegiate hockey now?
Yeah, there's been some awesome memories already. My first weekend, last year, my first weekend, we got to go to Alabama and play Friday, Sunday, and got to watch our football team play pretty well against their football team on Saturday.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, so that's been the best experience. But between away football games going up to Florida this year, watching our own team play at our own stadium, the trips with the guys, going down to Miami, everything like that, it's been incredible.
As a college football guy, the memes this year were Alabama at all costs wanted to avoid USF in the playoff if it ended up happening because of how poorly they've played against them in the past. So yeah, I remember that vividly. I think it was like Nick Saban was getting honored for something that game, and USF was running them the first three quarters.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they rescheduled us for next year, so we were like, our football team was supposed to go up next year, and it's not till like 2032 now. So
I don't think it is happening in 2032 either.
probably not.
They're ducking you.
Well, besides, just what we know in the college hockey world about you guys being so electric, do you guys get recognized on campus? Do students know you guys are conference champs now? Do they follow you to get asked? Like, what's the environment like there in that Tampa area, I guess?
Yeah, to a certain extent. It's a pretty big school, and hockey's still growing down here. But yeah, I mean, the club is growing. More people are finding out about us. The championship definitely helps. Yeah, it's a work in progress.
But hey, you and Chloe, a couple of USF MVPs. You guys are really putting hockey on the map there.
Yeah, both teams are doing great for sure.
Now, you have that Tampa Bay Lightning sweater from the Stadium Series hung up in the locker room. Can you kind of tell us about the story of that? I think it was something related to your Gasparilla weekend, right?
Yeah. So before we had the Stadium Series down here in Tampa, we played against Tampa's M2 team, and they gave us both some jerseys. So yeah, that was an awesome game.
What do you think is, being a Red Wings fan, does it kind of hurt you at all to look at that thing, or does it give you a little bit more of those like Hulk green eyes when you look at it to go on and hit somebody on the ice?
Being a Tampa resident now, I can't hate on the Lightning or anything, but yeah, I'll root for them here and there, just not tomorrow.
Really? You, an Atlantic Division Red Wings fan, will root for the Lightning?
As long as we're not playing the Wings, yeah.
Hey, if they're giving free jerseys, I'm rooting for a team. If they're giving me free stuff,
Exactly.
Yeah, I think you have a point there, Gavin. To be honest, I think I might be persuaded as well.
yeah, that's a $270 jersey hanging up right there. So
Hot take though, it's the worst Stadium Series jersey I've ever seen. I'm just gonna throw it out there. I'm sorry,
I'm just gonna say, Devin, where was your Stadium Series jersey? Where was your Winter Classic jersey this year?
Detroit, dude. We had the alternate D. We had the shiny white ones against the Leafs. Our Winter Classic sweaters are the best in history of hockey. Right now, we've got Centennial. Like, you're outmanned here. I don't know, Grant. Like, we've obviously got the best sweaters in hockey.
No doubt, yeah. The Stadium Series, Winter Classics, whatever it is, yeah. Detroit's got the best ones.
And I will say, the white Red Wings jersey with the arched font on the back, that's the best uniform in the history of hockey. There's just nothing beats that. I'm sorry. And even as a Blackhawks fan, nothing beats that.
Well, fair enough. Hey, it's been great catching up with you. Just a quick one. We know you're locked in, getting ready to go for this Nationals run, but talk to us about the excitement. what is, just as a unit, you guys anticipate most at this nationals? What do you guys want to do as a team? Do you have anything planned outside of just the tournament, or is it just business as usual, go in there and get the job done?
Yeah, I mean, I'm most excited just to spend like a week with the guys. That's the best part about it all. We get to go play a game every day, hang out at the hotel together, go grab food, mix in some poker games here and there. But it's always a blast being with the guys.
Well, certainly. And we'll see you guys down there. The second half of the tournament, March 18th, begins for you. Good luck out there. We'll be watching on Flow Hockey. And thanks so much for joining us with your time, Grant.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you to Mr. Dietz for coming on the episode 29 of College Hockey Mouth, getting ready for playoffs, and a really dialed-in guy. He was all business there in that interview, and they're going to have a big weekend by the time you hear this, starting in St. Louis on March 18th. But talking about some of the big news this week, at the time of this recording, we just found out a few hours ago that the University of Tampa has won the AAU Women's Division National Championship out in Jacksonville, Florida. A spectacular end of the year for a team that had the redemption arc in the College Hockey South playoffs. They beat Alabama in the championship in shutout fashion, and now they take it back. And let's give you some of the scores out there from the Nationals tournament. On Saturday, Tampa got it started in a huge win, 9-1 over Springfield College. Lauren Clorty, 3 goals and 3 assists. Molly Braga, good as always. And guys, the big thing was it was going to be them and Syracuse, and the reigning national champions from AAU, showed up big. 11-1 victory over Georgia. Tough go there for the Bulldogs. Quinnipiac also took down South Carolina on day 1. So it looked like it was kind of all Tampa head steam forward in this. On the next, they had a one day there with, Sunday on March 8th, and Tampa played Syracuse.
Yeah, this was ultimately the matchup that I believe everyone around the tournament believed it was going to be in the final. This happening before you even get to the semifinals is tough for both teams, but ultimately it gave teams a little bit of a wake-up call. And man, it was back and forth. It was a high pace. Lauren Clorty with a late GWG. Tampa led 3 different times, and Syracuse, like a champion does, came back each time, tied it. But man, they shut the door late, and just have to shout out the top line from Tampa: Clorty, Ava Johnson, and Molly Braga. Clorty had 6 points in that first game against Springfield. I think that was the score that kind of let everyone know that this year was a different Tampa team. I mean, we knew that. We've seen them play a bunch, but they played Springfield last year, and it was a grinding 2-1 game, kind of ugly, and they just like completely dog walked them. And Joey Burns with a nasty goal on the breakaway. They got a little bit of redemption over Syracuse, but I think in the back of everyone's mind, they knew that wasn't the last of that matchup we were going to see.
Gavin, what's the one word we use more than any? What's the one sentence we use more than anything on this podcast?
Set the tone, Devin, and that's how Tampa started off the national tournament. They set the tone for sure. And I got to give a shout out to the goaltending, because it wasn't just Claire Keurig. It wasn't just Sophie Reichert the whole weekend. It was back and forth, both of them. They both had 2 games in the tournament and both played excellent. And that's part of it too, is one, Tampa went out, scored a lot of goals, but the goaltending was fantastic for them as well.
One of those that we had a unique format, and Danny educating people. You used the analogy before we recorded about the College World Series, that double elimination format. Georgia and South Carolina stayed alive to Sunday, and Georgia got a win over Springfield College 4-2, really big for that program. We know how good they are on the defensive side. They've got a really good netminder in Legault, but South Carolina followed that up in a tough loss right to the end. And Danny, I know you had a little bit to tell us about this sort of an upset for High Point.
Yeah, these 2 teams met earlier this season, and it was the exact score the opposite way. South Carolina won 6-5, and Carolina fell down 5-2 in this one, came back and tied it. And it seemed like we were headed for overtime, and then a breakaway with, I think there was 0.4 seconds on the clock by the time the puck got over the line. So a brutal way for the season to end for South Carolina. It was still a very positive note. Well, not a positive note to end the season on, but the program's headed in the right direction. The roster's growing. They've got some really good young players and new uniforms that are sweet. I mean, look good, play good, right? But yeah, tough way for the season to end. And then Georgia, man, that you said it, Devin. That's a huge win for for the program. Coming out to this tournament, they were going to be facing teams that had more experience in this kind of environment, and they had to come from behind and win that one. And Paige Oaks getting it done there with a late goal to win it, and they did it with the nice defensive performance there.
Yeah, no doubt. And congrats to Alyssa Nardslicko and company. Nothing to hang their head about. An excellent South Carolina team that will be good for years to come still. And as we got into elimination time, it was the semifinals. Tampa took on Quinnipiac in a pretty much a boat race, 9-5 win for the Spartans to advance to the championship. Syracuse also found themselves winners, and that set up a championship game, guys. In the game of the week, no pun intended. I mean, when you get the two best teams on the ice, that's what we all thought it would be. Cool thing that happened is Abby Murphy, a member of the United States women's hockey team, gold medalist from Milano Cortina, gave a pregame speech, fired up the team before they took on Syracuse, and they rode that momentum high. And Danny, I'll leave the floor to you. Did Tampa look like the peak of their existence as a team in this game?
100%. 100%. And, super happy for the group of seniors and juniors that were a part of the teams the previous two seasons that made it to the national championship game and lost. They're able to climb the mountain, reach the peak this time, overcome a little bit of national championship game demons. You mentioned it earlier. Last season, they fell short in the conference championship game and the national championship game. What did they do this year? They played Alabama twice, shut them out twice. They played Syracuse twice this year, beat them twice. So it was a poetic way to finish it off this year. And yeah, I mean, they outshot Syracuse heavily throughout the game. I mean, the third period kind of opened up and was a little bit haywire, but if it wasn't for the Syracuse 10D, it could have been like a 6 or 7-2 type of game. But Ella Schaefer with the game-winning goal, shout out to her. A whole bunch of freshmen performing really well for Tampa. So while they do have a bunch of upperclassmen and seniors that will be leaving the program after this season, they're in good hands for the future.
They get the chance in that locker room to sing with the voice of the Lady Spartans, Avery Gugliotta. We are the champions. So thrilling. And of course, congrats to everybody. Carlos Pineros, Lauren Clordy, so many veteran players that absolutely deserve the success and first national title. For them, they're an AAU. And
So
like we said in the theme of this. Oh, yeah.
Let's think about this season, Devin. They won the Columbus Classic, conference championship, national championship. I mean, that's a pretty good. And if you want to call, I mean, I guess you could say they won the Gasparilla Showcase. It wasn't really a tournament format. They went 2-0, two really convincing wins. Man, what a banner season for Tampa. And they also got new uniforms, which got high marks from pretty much everyone, including us. But they're still called the Spartans, by the way. I don't think they changed their mascot for people who understand what I'm referring to right now. They are still the Spartans, not the Pirates. Anyways.
If you know, you know. But they get to hang a banner at Clearwater Ice Arena alongside that Division I banner that the Tampa men's team won last year. And speaking of that men's team, both of their teams on the men's side are going to nationals, and that is what begins this week, guys. St. Louis, Missouri, Senti Community Ice Center in what is a first time for a few members of the program. We know that, M2 with Nick Kuzlik, he's been there before as a player, but it's been a number of years. This is their first time back in ACHA, and we've got 6 College Hockey South teams, including men's 2 and men's 3 in this tournament. We're going to start things out on the men's 2 side. We talked a little bit about our previews a little bit last week, but let's get really in depth with this now. We're going to break down the pools for both, and beginning with the schedule for the Tampa Spartans. They will begin on the time you hear this tomorrow, which is on Thursday. So probably going to be hearing this after the fact, but they played Army West Point to start the day at 10:45 a.m. Eastern in the Maryville University Hockey Center. Central. Did I say Central? I thought I said Central Standard Time.
You said Eastern.
Did I? Well, it's not Eastern.
Nevertheless.
Don't get it mixed. Nevertheless, you got to get used to that, being an hour behind now for this Mid-America tournament. But they take on Army, a cadet school, always conditioned SECHL champion Army team on Friday, which you'll definitely hear by the time this game happens. Michigan State taking on the Spartans. And now Michigan State, they upset Lindenwood in the regional tournament. That's the big story with them. But the one game that everybody has pinned on their calendar for the Spartans is Oklahoma State, Saturday, March 14th at 3:30 p.m. Central Time on the NHL rink. Boys, we can break down other games, but I think everybody's wondering in the mind, does Tampa have the horses to keep up with Oklahoma State? It looks like a wagon.
I believe so. Ultimately, the biggest question mark will be their goaltending. Unfortunately, we don't know the status of Kyle Meyer, but it doesn't look like he's going to be healthy enough to play for Tampa in the Nationals. So that's a big blow, huge blow. There's no overstating how huge of a loss that is for them because he played I think he played all but one game at Nationals last year and performed brilliantly. So it might be on our man Eddie Zane, who was a Division III Tampa goaltender primarily, and I think that'll be the biggest thing. I believe Tampa can defend well enough 5-on-5. That's an important clarification. They got to stay out of the penalty box. Otherwise, they might be chasing the game, and not just against Oklahoma State, this entire pool.
Yeah, just one loss on the year for Oklahoma State. It was an independent team, but they rode through the West region, double-digit blowouts in both their games. The big guys you got to stop is that three-headed monster. Caden Nelson, 104 points, led the nation this year. He's a former NCAA Division I product. Corbin Roach, right there on his heels. He averages over 3.5 points per game. And their power play, boy, Cooper Matthews has 16 power play goals. I think that tells you the story. That's kind of the Achilles heel. But Tampa, they do have gamers. Cole Valise has been all over for them. Danny Griffin was our conference player of the year. I feel like for them, and Gavin, I'll implore you to kind of bid in with what you think. I feel like they have to have some generational performances from guys like Valise, guys like Eddie Zane you mentioned, but most importantly, they have got to keep it 5-on-5 to have a chance.
Yeah, and we've talked about discipline with this team all season, and they showed it at regionals. They kind of flipped the script and tightened things up. That's credit to good coaching as well and knowing where you're at. And you mentioned Cole Valise. That guy, he's won pretty much up and down his hockey career. High school, won 3 championships, won nationals last year. So you've got to have the poise of guys who have been in those spots before, and they're not going to get flustered. They're going to drag the team into the fight, drag them into big wins, and help out your goalie. I mean, like we said, Kyle Meyer probably not going to play. If he does, it might be later in the tournament, if at all. And so it's about helping Eddie Zane out and just keeping shots out wide, allowing them to play strong defensively and getting goals from big guys like Valise and trusting Danny Griffin to patrol the blue line.
Now, let's preface to our fans listening the format. This is a pool play style, 4 teams of 4 pools. The winner of each pool goes on to the semifinal. Now, an undefeated record in 3 games guarantees your spot. If it goes 2-1, there is some tiebreakers. Goals differential is the main one. Then it's your head-to-head. And then it's, I believe, more or less penalty minutes. It usually comes down to goal differential. That's the big one you're going to want to remember for, say, Tampa loses a game, but they're in a spot where maybe Army upsets Oklahoma State. Maybe Michigan State's in there. It's really one where it comes down to the last day. So it's going to be a big one for Tampa there in their Nationals preview. And, of course, if they make it, the semifinal is on Sunday and the championship Monday, March 16th. Guys, let's switch over to Florida Atlantic now. The conference champions, first time for them in this 3-team format. They have really strung together a great late season push. You see their top guys doing what they do. Jackson Newendike came over from Canisius, Leon Biller. How about Brady Bazier, a guy that's gotten high marks in our group as media. For the Owls, they start their tournament with St. Bonaventure, who we remember from AAU being a powerhouse. If you're looking at them, St. Thomas and Utah State, how does Florida Atlantic stack up?
I think they stack up pretty well. And yeah, I mean, they, like Gavin said with Tampa, they really flipped the script as well at regionals. I think the biggest question in my mind coming into this tournament is who's going to be the primary goaltender, because Rocco is the 3-time now, right? He's a 3-time goalie of the year, and deservedly so. But Gunnar Stevens came in at regionals, was lights out, had a really good game against Tampa in the conference playoffs. So his goals against and postseason action is below 2. The save percentage is in the 930s, 3-0. I would have to believe Gunnar Stevens would get the majority of the starts, but it is Rocco, and Rocco won a national championship last year. So I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. It's a good problem to have that you have 2 guys that you can trust now in the net, but you can only play one at a time. But I believe this is where the secondary scoring is going to have to step up for FAU. You know, the top guys are the top guys, no doubt about it. They're going to produce, but these other teams are going to have elite talent as well that are going to be able to score, you'd have to think. And, you know, the guys like Christian Cuccia and, you know, Ronan Keenan and Blaise Pepe, one of my favorite names in the entire conference. I love that, by the way. But those guys are going to have to perform.
Yeah, like Danny said, it's about depth scoring for FAU. And they did flip a script, and they got some of those guys involved in playoff. Aiden Georgiano as well, one of those guys who kind of started to pick it up at the end of playoffs and was big in their road to the conference championship. And the two goalie problem, Danny said it, not a bad problem to have. Rocco, he's talked about his preparation, very even-killed guy, has been prepared for this all year. If his name's called, he's ready. Gunnar Stevens is ready. So this FAU team has a chance to repeat. It's going to come down to that depth scoring level.
I would agree. I think just seeing them at a glance this season, most games I witnessed were Florida Atlantic. The biggest thing is that they've tried many different guys in their special teams. I think every single player has ran through the penalty kill. Their power play is mixed up lines, and they found a way to get Christian Cuccia going. That was their big one, right? Conference Player of the Year in M3 last year. A little bit of a down year by his standards, but maybe not getting as many minutes being on that third line with Georgiano. I really think one move that stuck out to me at playoffs was moving Ronan Keenan back to defense. You see how he's able to support plays in the rush, kind of pinch down and be that offensive defenseman. We know what Jake Murphy is. He can play two-way. But if you're looking at a team like St. Thomas, that's probably their biggest opponent they've got to knock off. The WCCHA champions there in Minnesota, they went to the Final Four last year and just barely lost there late. I think they played in Montana State. Anthony Madigan leads them with 41 points this year. They have a really good blue line with Torin Dobchuk, Michael Scherer. So these two teams kind of stack up evenly. They look very similar. For FAU to go to the final, I think point blank, they've got to have their guys take over, their top lines. That's been what they've stepped up in. Jackson Neuendijk got them to overtime winner against Farmingdale State. You know, Tampa, Leon Biller surprised a lot of us, becoming kind of a scorer of his own. And I sentiment with you guys, the depth it's going to be. But they've got St. Bonaventure, they've got Utah State from the West, and St. Thomas to get to semifinals. And we'll be watching all that. Again, you can catch all of these games on Flow Hockey. Be sure to go to achahockey.org and go to the Find Events tab to find the national tournament. Subscribe today, $30 a month. Bit of a steep price point, but you do get every game covered from start to finish there live on the platform. Guys, Men's Division 3, here we go. 4 teams in this tournament format. Middle Tennessee State, the number 2 team in the country. We're number 1 the whole year. USF is right there, number 4. I think they came out of being in that pool with Air Force. Then you got Tampa, who got in from that win over Middle Tennessee State. They got it closer against USF. And Florida Gulf Coast, everybody's sweetheart. So, gentlemen, we can go down the line, but just first off, how excited are you about the prospect of 4 teams, and who's your favorite among the College Hockey South teams to go far?
I'm excited that we have 4 teams, a little disappointed that 2 of them ended up in the same pool, and also the fact that they're miles from each other, their campuses. And also another little fun note, they played each other last year in pool play. So, but no, it was definitely something we were concerned about. I think, you know, as conference playoffs drew to a close, you know, how many teams would we get in? You know, we figured MTSU and USF were safe, but FGCU and Tampa, you know, a little bit of question marks considering there are at-large or auto bids to consider. But both made it in, I think deservedly so, and will be players. You know, Tampa's got a steeper hill to climb, I would say, but you know, I would say USF right now. They seem like they have the momentum, but it's hard to overlook the MTSU team, but they need to have a short memory. They need to have a little bit of amnesia because they've been struggling a little bit down the stretch, but they've got all the tools to do it.
Yeah, I think USF, and some of that's even just after talking to Grant Dietz earlier. I mean, he sounded calm. He sounds like they trust their group. They've got the pieces. It's gonna. And when I asked about philosophy change in practice, you know, maybe I was seeing if they were going for the Tampa where they kind of cut the penalties out. They don't sound like they're going to do that. Grant Dietz has showed he's going to score regardless of the PIMs. So, I mean, it is keeping a guy like that out of the box because 10 minutes, which he's not necessarily afraid of, but you got to avoid those. And So I think USF has the best chance, but also MTSU, like Danny mentioned, I mean, they've got the pieces, and playoffs maybe was a shock for them. They didn't expect Tampa to put together the game that they did, and that probably exposed some weak points. So kind of give them something to look back on, watch the film, see what holes were missing, and try to clean your game up before you get to the national tournament.
So our panel is big on USF. Let's break down where they are in the pools. Pool B is Middle Tennessee State. They will take on Grand Valley State from the west coast of Michigan. Northwood from Middle Michigan. That's the number 7 and 10 teams. And then St. Vincent from their conference championship in College Hockey East. They are number 15 in Pool B. Pool C sees Florida Gulf Coast. They will play number 3 Oakland University from Michigan, Central Maine Community College, who's been nationals the last 3 years now, and Sacred Heart University, who's in their 3rd consecutive as well. They have never won a nationals game, but they have gone now a 4-peat in their conference championships. So that seems like a bit of an underrated pool. And, my sleeper pick right now is Florida Gulf Coast because they have the X factor of X factors in BJ Riccardi, perhaps the best goaltender in this conference, maybe even the nation, going into the nationals, who can steal you a game or two. And finally, in Pool D, boys, USF and Tampa will play each other right out of the chute. First day of their nationals in March 18th, and then they get to play Air Force, who has only lost 1 game out west. They were the runner-ups in the national championship. They would have been national champions had it not been for a miraculous third-period comeback by the Hope Flying Dutchman, who are now an M1 team in this year's bracket single elimination format. Also in there is Wentworth Institute of Technology. So a lot of fun matchups. We kind of just set the precedent there, boys. Like, how do you feel about just this group of teams and like non-college hockey South teams? Have you seen anybody else that, fans of this podcast might want to watch out for?
Well, from FGCU's schedule, they played a primarily non-conference schedule, and I believe they did play St. Vincent this spring semester and won both games, if I'm correct. Yes, they did. So that's interesting. And also I want to acknowledge, and it seems like Grant Dietz he acquired a large amount of respect for Gulf Coast from that semifinal game that was back and forth. And, when you guys get the chance to see the All-Star draft, he thought very highly of their players with his selections. I'll just say that. So yeah, I'm with you, Devin. I think Gulf Coast is a sleeper team. They have a team that can be successful at nationals. But to be honest, no. Like I don't know. I don't know these teams outside of CHS. We're a CHS podcast.
Yeah, honestly, I'll give you that. I kind of put you on the spot, but look, I mean, for the M3 world, some people look at this division like some are just feeders to better programs. Like, they might not realize FGCU M3 is not really a feeder to their M2 team, which is national favorites right now. They're their own entity. They have just the ability with guys like Nathan Walker, Jacob Langenrich, Ricardo we mentioned, to make runs. Non-hockey aside, like Gavin, for nationals, like, what is one thing that stuck out to you when you saw this schedule, or just kind of the pop in circumstance of going to St. Louis and what this is for the conference? What's your reaction to all of that?
I think this is honestly a chance for Florida Gulf Coast to represent the conference well in their first year. I think they've got a lot of potential. That USF game, if you play that 10 more times, I feel like we'd get a different ending every single time between those two teams. That's how good that game was. So I think Florida Gulf Coast, and they've got a really good chance to go deep, and USF has the depth and the key, and they've got the guys, they've got the goaltending, and so it's really going to come down to them playing their best hockey, and that's what nationals is whichever team can get rolling a gauntlets is. And these teams are 2 weeks off of playoffs, so not too much of a rest time. None of them played last weekend, but that's not a whole lot of time, and you're going to go maybe play 5-6 games realistically. So you've got a rough go of it, but I like the chances of a lot of these teams. They've got a lot of depth, and when they play their complete game, any of these teams from CHS could go and win it all. It's just going to take their best hockey of, honestly, some of these players' lives. So,
boy, I don't dare ask you guys to pick champions, because we would obviously pick some of the College Hockey South teams.
No, I'm gonna take Wentworth Tech, boys, actually. No disrespect to Wentworth Tech. No, listen. God bless America. Man. I hope the Air Force team has a successful and safe trip to and from St. Louis. Same thing with the Army team. but I'm going to be taking watch this, boys, because I said South Florida was the team that I think has the best chance. This is who I'm going to pick. I'm going to pick the Middle Tennessee State Blue Raiders to win this whole freaking thing. They are going to be the Division III champions.
Bold. Gavin, now you've got to follow that up. Are you going to go all chalk with him?
You know, I'm going to pick a sleeper, and I wouldn't say sleeper because they're a good team. Give me FGCU. I like BJ Riccardi. I think they get shut down, and that guy is going to have a stellar tournament. He's going to have a 970 save percentage. He's going to make like the season look like it was light work for him. I know he's fired up, ready to get going. So, and I'm just saying, St. Louis, your McDonald's better watch out. Nathan Walker and the Eagles are coming.
Oh my God. Can you imagine
I will say this.
the McDonald's meal post Natty?
There is no McDonald's within like a 5-mile radius of there. I will say that. But you do have the Hollywood Casino, and they have a buffet bar in there. So I think
that doesn't
if
suffice.
you're Nathan Walker, you got to be careful to stay away from that.
Yeah, that's not going to do it for Nathan Walker. Who cares what the Uber charges are? Get that man a couple Big Macs. Get a McDonald's mukbang going after the first win.
It's like a whole catering menu, but it's like, oh, which team's ordering this? It's like, no. It's not a team. It's just this
one guy.
Walker guy.
Yeah.
And they have to hunt him down. They have to go through 3 ranks. It's just Nathan Walker. Man, we're putting this guy on blast. I hope this isn't coming back to haunt us when I see him in a few days.
We love Nathan. All conference player.
We do. I think the fast food bit kind of ran its course when we were talking about that. I don't even remember which. Like, I think he was the only guy that said like he liked fast food. I don't know if you did Danny or Gav, but yeah, it's gonna be interesting what the meal plan looks like on nationals, because Santine makes food. It's hit or miss. I'll leave it where it is.
Who's gonna pick a Michigan
Boys,
team?
I'm not gonna lie to you. Okay, no. Listen, I don't want to set this up with a run-on sentence. Here's what my prediction is. I think College Hockey South gets 2 teams in the national semifinal, but it's not who you think it is. I'm going to take USF and Florida Gulf Coast to make the semis, but my national champion of choice is Air Force. This team isn't
that impossible?
Wagon of wagons. They are in hell of a shape.
Yeah, that doesn't work.
Okay. No, because listen, I understand. What do you mean? No, I said USF and Tampa in the same pool. I picked USF.
Yeah, but you're saying Air Force is going to win it all. If USF wins,
in the same pool as USF.
That pool, Air Force is out. They're in the same pool, man. Come on.
Man. See, I even thought about
I'm leaving this one in because normally I don't catch these. Normally I don't catch them in the.
Oh my God! I even
gotta
thought about it. I even had the chart in front of me. I was looking up and down at it. Oh my God! All right, well, this opened a crapshoot. You guys want to know my most embarrassing moment in the history of doing this? And this is on the record. We can leave this in. I was calling University of Missouri, playing Arkansas for a conference or at nationals to go in their pool, and they had the semi set up. Like if you know, like they for the semis kind of reseed a little bit. I had picked the wrong team that they were going to play. So the call was an overtime game. Missouri wins it, dramatic one, a minute in. I almost swore. I crap you not. I called, and Missouri's going to play Calvin, not the team they were going to play. And it was live on Flow Hockey. All of the Missouri fans were absolutely ripping me when I got off the air. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. I don't know why I get to do this. I do not deserve the street cred. So I'll put it out there. I'm a buffoon. Okay, then with what you just said, with what you just presented that I messed up on. Okay, I'm picking Air Force to come out of the pool. Sorry, Tampa and USF. Give me FGCU, right? And Air Force to win it all. Okay. Because that team is what I was saying. Wagon, Oberle, Bollinger. They have this goaltender, Kelly Kane. He is short like Rocco, but he whips around the net.
Short like Rocco.
One of the best in the country at getting post to post. Yeah. Had to find a comparison there to College Hockey South. Well, thanks, guys. That's my pick, Air Force.
We didn't pick one
That's
for
a bold
M2.
One.
Will either team get out of their pool? How about that?
Yeah, it's a little too difficult to pick right now.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
I think FAU.
Because obviously Tampa's in such a FAU's got a good chance to get out of theirs. For Tampa, it's really going to come down to winning those first 2 games and getting a huge win versus Oklahoma State. It really comes down to the last day for them, and they have to be perfect. There's no room for error for Tampa.
You just hope they're not worn down. I mean, that is the game they need the legs for, because that will take everything they have to beat Oklahoma State from top to bottom.
If I were to continue with my MO on this podcast and draw an analogy. It's like playing an entire regular season of NFL football and then losing your starting quarterback and then going and playing, your first playoff game. It's like it in your mind it's doable, but man, every other area of your game is going to have to be elevated and almost perfect to cover up for, yeah, because Kyle Meyer is a huge impact player for them. I've said it a bunch. He's huge for them. So they're going to be in one, but who knows?
But how about
Maybe
this one? Nick Foles won a Super Bowl, though. So how's that for backup quarterbacks coming in and stealing the spotlight?
I'm saying Eddie Zane could play his ass off, and I'm hoping he does because you know what? This conference needs that kind of a story, a Gunnar Stevens type story. We get a couple of backup attendees meet in the national championship game, CHS, first year ACHA national championship. Come on now. I think I just wrote the script.
Well, we'll keep track of that. This is one of those moments that you can brag about if it comes right. You make predictions. We all do it all year, and so far we've been like okay at it. I wouldn't say anyone's been like, oh, we made it all the way. But if that's the one that goes, then I'm happy for it. And Danny will have ultimate bragging rights if we get 2 CHS teams in the ACHA Nationals.
Wait, Gavin, we can make nationals predictions, and then the commissioner won't put the kibosh on it and make us delete all this.
Hey man, don't tell me twice. I'll start formulating the article tonight.
Hey,
I'll start writing down mine.
I like the
If
sound of
anyone's
this.
getting the kibosh, it's not you two. It's me. I'm making us look real bad. I don't even know what pools are what. I just picked like 2 teams of the same pool to win. That's not even possible. So
Yeah, go talk
if
about the
anyone's
Red
getting
Wings.
cut, it's
What
me.
are we doing?
But I will go talk about the Red Wings. I will watch. By the time you hear this, hopefully the Red Wings have destroyed the Lightning. I need a good, sentimental win for my hockey team.
And if that does happen, no one talk to me. Don't text me. Don't reach out. I don't want to hear it. But Lightning in the playoffs, it doesn't matter. Red Wings are still in the hunt. So
Man, best time of the year, boys. I eat this stuff up, and it's been an absolute pleasure to cover this all year with you both. And the next time you hear from us, it'll be, well, I might be in St. Louis. I don't know. We're gonna figure it out as we go, but we'll definitely give you all the post-nationals recaps, especially on the M2 side. But remember, subscribe now to flowhockey.tv, $30 a month to get all of the action live from nationals. March 12th through the 23rd at the Centene Community Ice Center in Maryland Heights, Missouri. For everybody here, Gavin, you've got one more send-off before we get them ready for nationals.
I just got to say, Devin, if you tune in next week and I see you playing blackjack or at the craps table on the podcast, I'm going to be a little upset, especially if you start losing. I better not hear you losing at the casino. If you're going to go, you at least got to win if you're going to join the pod.
We're gonna see
who's gonna
Devin
really
tapping
pick
his finger. He's
number
all
there?
anxious.
Yeah. They're going to be like, he's going to be at 20. He's going to be like tapping and they're going to be like, oh, you want to hit? And they're going to flip it and he's going to lose
No.
while on the pod.
I am just worried about getting cornered by Ronan Keenan. I don't know if he listens to this, but I think that guy is going to put me in a hole and be like, you're coming with us. And it'll be late. It'll be their last day, whenever that is. And I'll be like, nope, I got to call nationals tomorrow. Sorry.
You got to protect the voice. You can't be like me on the last day calling the ACDC championship and the voice just hanging on for the final call and then being gone.
Honestly, Gavin, you might as well
Been there,
have gone out that
Been there,
night.
done that.
Gavin played a conservative. He was responsible and stayed in that night, and he still lost his voice by the end. You did a great job, by the way, on that call. But yeah, if I can have my final send off for this podcast, congratulations to Tampa on the national championship. Hopefully, we can hear from one of their fine players that helped bring another national championship home. Definitely really cool to see them overcome the national championship game demons. So yeah, huge congrats to them. That's why I'm wearing the Tampa hat. I don't like the Bucks at all, even though it's a cool hat. Yeah, that's what I got.
Bucko Bruce.
That is the best logo. I do love the creamsicle. But I love College Hockey South, and I love all of our teams. And good luck to all of them out this weekend. Safe travels, everybody. For our panel here, Gavin Coker, our producer, Danny Bohm, our host. My name is Devin Serra. Thanks for listening to episode 29 of the College Hockey Mouth podcast, the College Hockey South series. We'll talk to you next week. Have a good one.